Welcome to Sheikh Hamdan's fans official channel, where we're thrilled to share the latest updates on Sheikh Hamdan. Today, we're excited to delve into the heartfelt feelings of Sheikh Hamdan for his dear friend, Shama Al-Falsi. Love has a way of surprising us, quietly weaving its way into our lives like a gentle melody. Before we know it, the music has taken over, transforming our entire world. I never envisioned myself standing before you, bearing the depths of my heart. Yet, today, I'm compelled to share something authentic, something that has profoundly shaped me in ways I never thought possible. She entered my life like a whispered secret, unexpected, unplanned, and yet, somehow, perfectly timed. Her presence awakened emotions I never knew I possessed, and with her by my side, my world was forever changed. As I reflect on the moments we've shared, I'm reminded of the profound impact she's had on my life. Her kindness, compassion, and generosity inspire me to be a better version of myself. She's more than just a friend, she's a guardian angel, a shining light in my life. In this video, I invite you to join me on a journey of self-discovery, as I reveal the heartfelt feelings I've kept hidden for so long. It's a story of love, friendship, and the transformative power of human connection. There was no grand revelation, no fireworks illuminating the sky. Just a simple, undeniable connection that grew stronger with each passing day. At first, I didn't even realize what was happening. She was just there. A presence I looked forward to, a voice that made the world seem lighter. Her laughter had a way of making even the darkest days feel bright, and her kindness was like a soothing balm to my soul. I remember the little things. The way she listened not just to my words, but to the silence between them. She never needed explanations, she just understood. She saw through the smiles, the jokes, and the mask I wore for the world, and she accepted the real me, flaws and all. That kind of acceptance is rare, and when you find it, you hold on to it with everything you have. For the longest time, I kept my feelings to myself. I told myself it was enough to just have her in my life, even if she never knew how deeply I felt. But love has a way of demanding to be seen. It lingers in stolen glances, in the way your heart races when they're near, and in the quiet ache of missing them when they're gone. I tried to fight it, to convince myself that my feelings were nothing more than admiration. I told myself I could keep my heart in check, but love doesn't work that way. The more I tried to suppress it, the stronger it grew, until one day I couldn't hold it in anymore. And that's where my story begins. There was no dramatic confession, no carefully planned moment where I poured my heart out. It wasn't under the stars or in the middle of a perfect sunset. It happened the way most real things do, unexpectedly, naturally, and almost too easily. As we sat together, bathed in the warm glow of the evening, the world outside receded, leaving only the two of us suspended in a sea of quiet intimacy. She spoke of something that brought her joy, her eyes sparkling like stars, and my heart swelled with emotion. I was captivated by the simple beauty of her presence, the way she could transform the mundane into something extraordinary. Time stood still as I gazed at her, my soul drinking in the radiance of her being. And then, without warning, the words tumbled out, a confession born of the heart. I think I'm in love with you. The phrase hung in the air, in no hesitation, just a simple, unadorned truth spoken into the quiet air between us. For an eternal moment, time stood still. Her eyes locked onto mine, wide with wonder, as if searching for any hint of jest. But I wasn't joking. I couldn't joke about something that had taken hold of my soul. She began to speak, but the words faltered, as if they were too immense, too precious. My heart pounded in my chest, the weight of vulnerability pressing down upon me like a physical force. A part of me yearned to retract my words, to laugh them off, to pretend they never existed. But it was too late. The truth was out, hanging in the air like a delicate, shimmering thread. I hadn't just laid my soul bare, I had done it for the first time in my life without wanting to run from my feelings. I wanted her to know, even if it changed everything. She let out a breath as if she'd been holding it in, and then softly, she smiled. That smile was all the answer I needed, but love is never as simple as just saying the words. Our story was only just beginning. That moment when she smiled after my confession should have been enough to put my heart at ease, but love is complicated. It isn't just a feeling, it's a risk, a leap into the unknown, and I had no idea where we would land. She didn't say anything right away, and I understood why. Love isn't something you rush, it's something that settles into the cracks of your soul, something that takes time to accept, to embrace. But in that silence, I felt every possible outcome spinning in my head. Would she love me back? Would she pull away? Had I just changed everything between us forever? I could have spoken again, tried to explain myself, but I didn't. Instead, I let her have that moment. I wanted her answer to come from the deepest part of her heart, not from the pressure of the moment. Finally, she looked at me, something unreadable in her eyes. "Why now?" she asked softly. It wasn't an accusation, just a quiet question, one that I knew held 100 other unspoken thoughts. Why did I say it now, after all this time? Had I always felt this way? Did I expect something to change between us? I took a deep breath because I couldn't keep it inside any longer. "I admit it," I said, "because every time I see you, every time I hear your voice, it feels like the world makes sense. And if I never told you, I knew I'd regret it for the rest of my life." She looked down, biting her lip, something she did when she was thinking. I knew she was searching for the right words. "I don't know what to say," she finally whispered. Those 6 words cut deeper than anything else could have because they didn't mean yes, but they also didn't mean no. They meant uncertainty, fear, hesitation. I swallowed hard, nodding, trying to understand. But as I looked into her eyes, I saw something there that gave me hope, a spark of emotion, a glimmer of possibility. And in that moment, I knew that I would wait, no matter how long it took, for her to find the words to answer me. To conceal the pain creeping into my chest, I reassured her, "You don't have to say anything right now. I just needed you to know." She reached out, her fingers barely brushing against mine. It was a fleeting touch, but it was enough to keep hope alive. That night, as I lay awake, I realized that love isn't just about confessing your feelings, it's about patience, giving the other person space to understand their own heart. So I waited. But waiting for love is never easy. The days that followed were filled with an unbearable silence, not the kind where words fail, but the kind where words are too heavy to speak. We still talked, still laughed, but something had shifted. My confession lingered in the air between us, unspoken but impossible to ignore. I didn't push her for an answer, wanting her to come to it on her own without pressure or expectation. But I'd be lying if I said it was easy. Every time she hesitated before speaking, every time she looked at me like she was searching for something in my eyes, I felt the weight of uncertainty. Was she afraid, confused, or simply trying to find a way to let me down gently? One evening, when the air was thick with tension, she finally spoke. "I've been thinking about what you said." Her voice was quiet, careful. I held my breath. She looked away, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the table. "You mean so much to me," she said softly. "I don't want to lose you." The words stung, not because they were cruel, but because I knew what they meant. She wasn't ready, maybe never would be. I forced a smile. "You won't lose me." She looked up, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite name. "But what if I do?" she whispered. "What if this changes everything?" I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "It already has." She flinched slightly, and I hated myself for saying it, but it was the truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. I had crossed the line, spoken my heart, and now there was no going back. The comfortable friendship we once had was now tangled with feelings that couldn't be undone. She reached for my hand, her touch like hesitant. "I don't want to hurt you," she said. I let out a small, sad laugh. Too late for that. Her grip tightened just for a second before she let go. I don't know how to do this," she admitted. I wanted to tell her that love isn't something you figure out, it's something you feel, something you surrender to. But I didn't. Instead, I just looked at her, hoping she'd see the truth in my eyes. Love is a precipice you teeter on, a feeling you fall into, but I also knew that wasn't fair. Love is terrifying, messy, and demanding. It requires more than just feelings, it demands courage. So I gave her a choice. "Let's take our time," I said, "no pressure, no expectations, just us." She nodded, relief flickering in her expression. "Okay." And just like that, we found ourselves in the in-between, not together but not apart, caught in the delicate balance of love unspoken and unfinished. I had no idea how long we could stay there before one of us had to make a choice. Days turned into weeks, and still we lingered in the space between love and uncertainty. We carried on as if my confession had never happened, yet it was always there, a quiet ghost in the room with us. Some days I thought she was getting closer, that maybe, just maybe, her heart was leaning toward mine. Then other days I saw the hesitation in her eyes, the way she pulled back just enough to remind me that she still wasn't sure. It was torture, and yet I stayed. When you love someone, truly love them, you don't walk away just because things are difficult. You wait, you fight, you hope, even when it hurts. One evening, as we sat together lost in another conversation that danced around everything but the truth, I finally broke. I can't keep pretending this doesn't exist, I said. My voice was lower than I intended. She blinked, caught off guard. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I gestured between us. This, me feeling this way, you not knowing what to do with it. We're stuck, and I don't know how much longer I can be here waiting for you to decide if I'm worth the risk. She flinched, looking down at her hands. I never said you weren't worth it. Then what are you so afraid of? My voice was softer now, but no less desperate. She hesitated, her lips pressing together as if she were trying to hold something back. Then finally, she whispered, I'm afraid of ruining what we have. My heart clenched. And what if what we have isn't enough anymore? Her eyes snapped up to mine, wide and vulnerable. She had no answer, and I realized then that maybe she never would. Some people love deeply, but they love in silence,